Hello everyone, I'm David, Chair of Morecambe Bid. Since the recent Eden Project Morecambe milestone, we've seen a huge amount of excitement, support and pride from people who want to see the town move forward. We've also seen plenty of questions, and rightly so. Eden is a significant project for Morecambe and local people. Businesses and visitors want to understand what it will mean in practical terms. So rather than picking out individual comments or trying to answer them bit by bit online, we have looked at the recurring questions and themes coming directly from the feedback across Morecambe Bid's district and social media channels. They cover everything from what happens next on site, the evolving design, visitor numbers, through to traffic, affordability, local business opportunities, wildlife, and the wider benefit to town. We've also brought these questions together and put them directly to John Pye, Operations Director for Eden Project Morecambe. The aim is a straightforward, open conversation, much like John and I have had in the past, giving John the opportunity to explain where the project is now, what comes next, and how Eden can play its part in Morecambe's future. So John, here we are again, and about probably a year since I first interviewed you, We've had a very recent event where you broke ground for the first time, and it's an incredibly important milestone for Morecambe. What can people expect, and what can they see happening next on site?
The event that we had on the 24th was really putting a marker down with our partners, our stakeholders, the community. But in terms of what happens next, this is the period where we're just getting the final consents from the planners, so we have to do something called a discharge of conditions, which is normal. That application has gone in, so there's a process for the council to review that, which allows us to start on site, get the hoardings up, and then do the exciting bit, which is diggers in the ground, which everybody and me are really excited about.
What can we look forward to then just in the next couple of months?
So it's a couple of months, really getting the project nailed down in terms of the contractors, their price and everything. We're finalising all those details. It's down to the sort of what do we put on the hoardings, just exactly where is that hoarding line, is it there or is it there? Talking to the RNLI and local partners, the City Council, to make sure that when we set up site, it's safe and everybody's comfortable, but everybody can look through the hoardings and see the activity that's going on. The other thing that we're looking to do is, here in the Winter Gardens, we've got a unit down on the ground floor next to the MP's office, and that's where we're looking to have a bit of a drop-in public display, public information, sort of unit, if you will, that people can come and ask questions. And I think over that summer period, there's going to be a lot of interest, particularly for people out of town who maybe not connected with Eden Project Morecambe, ask questions, and those local who might have some more deeper searching questions. So that unit is going to be probably around the end of August, in a position where we're actually saying to the general public, we are ready to break ground. We did it with a big spade, which I think was a bit fun. It was nice and quirky. We worked with Lancashire Morecambe College. They were brilliant with us, and they did a little mini student project to create the big spade. So we've got a bit of a custody battle going on with Lancashire Morecambe College, and they've won at the moment. So it's a bit of a shared thing. I'm sure it'll get wheeled out again, and why not? Yeah. It's such a fun thing to do.
So the design has evolved, hasn't it, over time? Can you explain to the viewers what's the current Eden Project Morecambe scheme, and included why is it developed in the way that it has? Why are we where we are today?
What I've always said is that the attraction needs to be built to a cost plan, but also it needs to be operationally sustainable when we open to the public. On the flip side of that, we have to make sure that the experience that the visitors are going to get is definitely worth ticket price. People are going to want to talk to the friends about coming and coming back. So importantly about repeat visitation, that's so important. So that's a real fine balance in making sure that when we sort of recalibrate the project, it strikes that fine balance between risk and reward, if you will.
Yeah.
I think it's fairly clear that we've retained the biome, the sort of lush horticultural experience, but within that we've got lots of gardens within gardens. So it's a very exploratory space, and the designs as they're evolving are really exciting because you're sort of seeing lots of nooks and crannies, hiding holes, different pathways for children to explore as well as adults in terms of that information and messaging. Outdoor gardens flanking east and west. The metronome in the centre, which will be the arrivals experience, and then the all-important realm of the moon. And this is the twist on Eden that I've spoken about before. So this is breaking the mould of what we've done previously in Cornwall and doing something digital, immersive, playful. So that sort of cycle of shows that we're going to have in the tidal theatre, and it will have a tide, which is exciting in itself. That'll be something different. It'll be something really unique, probably across the country, that people will want to talk to their friends about and come and see. And because it's digital, you can actually play with those cycles and there'll be something new and refreshing to come and see. But it's all about humans' impact on the planet. So whilst it's a serious message, it's done in a very Eden, playful way that people will go away, I think, stimulated about what they've seen. And that's the important bit, is it sparks conversation, particularly around, impacts of beautiful Morecambe Bay and over tourism and that natural environment. That we want to make sure that message gets pushed out there to our visitors.
Can you just give us a bit of idea about the £100 million budget? How's that being used? Where are you up to? And will it deliver what you're hoping it will deliver?
So in terms of the funding, we are now 100% match funded to the government's 50 million. That's a really important milestone because that allows us to start construction, and then we will continue fundraising beyond that right the way through the build phase. And as a charity, we continue to fundraise as Cornwall has done for the last 25 years.
The Promenade, as we know, as we look out across it, John, is much loved by our residents in town. How do you foresee Eden working alongside the existing public space, the gardens, the memorial features, and things that already bring value to the area?
The designers have worked to respect the listed buildings. We've got the Midland War Memorial, we've got the beautiful winter gardens, but also respecting Morecambe Bay and the ecology that we know is there and has to be protected. So I think it's a really lovely complementary suite of buildings and landscape that will add an immense amount of value to the tourist economy within Morecambe, because what we're looking at now is some decrepit buildings, lots of tarmac, and a pretty unloved landscape. So for us to do the transformation, retaining the respect of the Midland and the Winter Gardens and the War Memorial that it rightly deserves, but integrating Bring Me Sunshine Garden as that really lovely entrance to what will be the amazing backdrop of the realm of the sun, the realm of the moon, the gardens. So I think it will become quite iconic in terms of adding to Morecambe Bay's sort of Photoshop, if you will, of that visitor profile as to why would you come to the Northwest and why indeed would you come to Morecambe.
Just for people's absolute understanding, that will be free, won't it? The public space, the Bring Me Sunshine Garden, you'll just be able to go in any time of day.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you the entrance to the public realm bit, Bring Me Sunshine Garden, as you say, the central promenade running through in between the Bring Me Sunshine Garden and the front door to Eden. That will all be still accessible once we finish construction, as will the northern aspect. So if you sort of took it from 3 o'clock round to 9 o'clock, that northern prom will all be accessible as it was before we started.
Now, there's been much interest in the proposed 20-metre high tree inside the project. What can you tell us about that at this stage?
I can tell you that it is going to be the money shot in terms of people, the Instagram. That's going to be the money shot. But seriously, it's got a really strong message about how the elder tree and the sort of societal, environmental issues that we are experiencing and we have in the past, how we as humans can make subtle changes. So we've got little hidey holes in the elder tree. We've got the burrow, and these are going to be sort of almost like mini cinemas, if you will, that will play out messages of where we are in our journey on the environmental journey, not trying to make anything worse, but how we can make subtle changes to make things better. But I think kids will love it. I certainly will love it as an adult, and I think my mother will love it, because there's something for everybody, and that's what we've asked the designers to do, is make sure that that range of design appeals to all ages, all walks of life. So we've got accessibility right the way through the whole experience. But the elder tree, I think, will be iconic, and we don't have one of them in Cornwall. So again, a bit like the Tiger Theatre, it's something for people to talk about. Just to say that, you know, that wouldn't have happened without the support of the Mays. They have been a huge donor to the project, and we're hugely appreciative of their contribution to the project, which really, you know, bumps us well along to that magic milestone that I mentioned a few moments ago.
How are the wildlife habitats, and particularly the seabirds, being considered throughout the construction and then the long-term operation of the site?
Yeah, I mean, through the design development, and this has been going on for many months, if not years now, as part of any major project, you have environmental management plans. They get more detailed as you get more survey data, and we've done lots and lots of surveys, wintering birds, summer nested birds, all the gambit you can imagine in terms of ecological surveys have all been compiled into a really, really comprehensive report. That gets run through the planning process, and then ultimately we have what's called a construction and environmental management plan. So that's prepared by Vinci as main contractor, signed off by Eden as well as the City Council, as the local authority. And that makes sure that Vinci will respect the environment right the way through their construction. And importantly, Vinci have got a track record of doing this on other sites, particularly coastal sites as well. So that's why we're confident that, you know, our impact to the environment will be at its absolute minimum.
I think one of the questions that always crops up is visitor numbers. People are really keen to understand those visitor numbers. So how do you arrive at those projections? What's it based on? And in terms of the numbers that are being talked about, what do they tell us about the potential opportunity for the town?
So visitor numbers are based on lots of statistical data. We've had independent reports done to verify those, because it's what we can't have is just even saying, do you know what, we think we'll get this number of visitors. So based on other comparable attractions across the northwest and in the country, all of the catchment areas on different age profiles that we've got in and around the northwest, and then you sort of spread that catchment area wider and wider. Data from, you know, ALVA, which is the Association of Leading Visitor Attractions, they have lots and lots of data captured about what an attraction of this scale would attract. So the data is robust, so much so that we believe that there's a great demand, and we are going to operate a time ticket when we open. So the exact details will be confirmed, but that's the way that we can make sure that people are not overwhelmed with lots of people when they come to the attraction. They have the dwell time that deserve the ticket price, and that's a way that, you know, we can make sure that the just short of 600,000 visitors that we're projecting in our business case will actually stack up. Now it'll be a case of, once we're open, we'll continually monitor that. So if we can eat some more out of that, brilliant, because every visitor, as I see it, that comes to Morecambe will also want to spend a little bit of time and money in the wider town. So what's not to like about actually creating an attraction that links with other destinations and businesses, that can support them, that can develop them, and ultimately we want people having overnight stays, you know, having attractions across Morecambe Bay that really make it worthwhile for you to have overnights, maybe even a weekend. Brilliant.
I think in terms of local businesses, how do you see local businesses, suppliers, young people, how do you see those engaging with Eden as it goes along, sort of from now onwards?
Yeah, it's a really important part of whole metrics of how we're evolving the project, not just for construction, but with one eye on the operational side of the business. We've already had a supplier event at the platform, really well attended, and you guys supported it, as did Chamber of Commerce and many other people. And it's about banging that drum for this is now reality. And I do apologise for those in the past who have gone to Eden's website, not got the information, not got a response. That all needs to change. We need to get slicker, and we are doing. So that the information gathering about suppliers and what they can offer to Eden through construction and into operations is happening right now. So those conversations are live. We've been working with the Chamber of Commerce, and we had an event at the golf club with those recently, and that was the first time we'd invited Vinci as main contractor to give people a flavour of what they can offer. And then on the 24th at the community conversation, Vinci talked about how they were embedding social value into this project, and the metrics of Vinci as a main contractor with the breadth of suppliers and skills that they will offer to Morecambe is far beyond what Eden will do because of the spend. You can imagine, the volume of spend that they're going to create. So, just in that short sort of monologue, there has been so many touch points with suppliers, which will continue when we're ready. So, those people who get excited about, you haven't talked to them about, supplying toilet rolls, for example. The time will come.
Yeah.
It's just we're not quite ready yet.
Yeah. And so for the likes of the toilet roll suppliers, for example, have they still to come to your website, get in touch, fill in the forms, but not be too concerned if they don't hear straight back from you?
That's a perfect example. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that, we do send a message saying, please bear with us, we're not quite ready yet. And I think lots of people just understand that. And it's going for the right, concentrating the efforts for the right thing at the right time.
Traffic and parking, as we know, have always been important topics of conversation. What sort of work have you done to understand those issues to this point? I know you've touched on this before, but particularly during the busiest period, so when we see that swell of visitors in the town anyway, particularly when the sun is shining.
A real focus of attention for Eden, the city, the county councils, because we're all in it together. And we won't find solutions in Eden ourselves. We've got to work with those partners to find those workable solutions, and the solutions that we believe are stress tested based on recorded data that we've captured in that design development period in the last 18 months and more. So it's, in answer to your question, it's going to be a combination of town centre parking, and when it gets to that peak, lovely summer's day like we've got today, when visitor numbers are flowing, that's with the time tickets, that's when we can direct people to Junction 34 Park and Ride. So we're just in discussions with the County Council, fairly well advanced, that Eden will put on timed buses, so they need to be frequent enough for people not to be stood there burning in the sunshine as it always is here. But that can only operate sustainably over those peak flow periods. So it's quite a complex picture, but one that we've got really well established. And again, because we'll have a traffic management plan and a transport coordinator when we're operational, it will be their job to make sure that data's captured. We do continual surveys. And when we spot problems, we're proactive and not reactive.
We know we've got quite a decent capacity, haven't we, for parking in the town, because of course, for all of us, what we really want is people, like you say, to come, time ticket for 3 hours, whatever it might be, and then spend the afternoon or stay in a hotel and spend the night. So we need to know we can comfortably get those people in. I suppose the park and ride will almost add as an overflow to that, won't it? Or for people that want to use it off the motorway. Yeah.
And then I suppose the other bit that we haven't really talked about is when we're in sessions mode. So when just out here, 6,000 standing arena, gig mode, 8 times a year, that'll be a whole different events management plan. So that's where you really go into events mode. And we've got 20 years experience of doing it in Cornwall, whilst it's not in a town centre, I accept. But, the Vintage Festival, they have much larger volumes of people. So we know that with careful management, Morecambe can cope, but that will need another level of detail.
So just talking about the Eden sessions, which I've looked at in the past for Cornwall, I mean, they sound incredibly impressive. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think it is something that perhaps we locally as a community haven't fully grasped yet.
Yeah. So if you went on Eden Cornwall's website right now, we're just coming to the end of the 2026 sessions in Cornwall. So bands like Snow Patrol, for example, Mika, Seaman, fairly big names. Last year it was Beverly Knight and Gary Barlow, whether you like them or not, they're big name bands. And we know that the capacity in Cornwall is 6,000, which is a nice number, not too many, not too few, to have a real good gig experience. So just out here, we'll have a stage arena, which will be tiered towards the coastline, and that will give really good a stand view, an audio view of the stage. When we go in sessions mode, this is where we sort of kick into a different nighttime event management plan for Eden, and that will generate in itself a lot of overnight stays. I think we are restricted to 8 times a year under planning, which is fine because we couldn't have winter events obviously outdoor.
We could have a go.
We could have a go. Yes, absolutely. People do get wrapped up, but I think what it is a really strong addition to what Eden Project Morecambe will bring into the town. And I think it's probably a little bit overlooked and we don't shout about it enough. But that nighttime economy, getting people to stay over, what better opportunity with having a gig and a band, and we've got the university to tap into, lots of opportunities. And likewise here at the Winter Gardens, a pre-gig event here, tied in with Eden Sessions, that would just be amazing.
And we haven't fully appreciated yet just the significance of that, because it's like when you go to any major city, when there's an event on, like a music gig in Manchester, the whole city swells with people. And so I think that's something that, like you say, you really need to shout about, but we really need to shout about as well, because it's almost something, not just an addition, it's also you're becoming a fantastic music venue as well. And like you say, will feed into all of the other venues around, won't you?
And when you think about geographically, you come sort of north of Manchester, and then you maybe get into sort of Halifax area. There's not a great deal to fill that gap in this area of the northwest. So again, I think we really need to shout about it.
Not as we have, of course. You're not in a closed arena. You've got Morecambe Bay as a backdrop, haven't you, to these sessions?
And that's what people love about Cornwall, is it's something different. You're not in a black box. And if we can tie it in with the sunset, perfect.
Affordability, so we need to talk about, for local families particularly, one, you've talked about what will be free to enjoy, which would be the Sunshine Garden. How are you approaching access in that respect to local people, and also ticketing for local people? Are there any sort of concessions for locals?
We haven't got to the final details of them, but building on the knowledge of what works in Cornwall, local passes, they're discounted passes. They're about driving repeat visitation for people, that it costs a lot of money to take a family out for a day out. So that repeat visit on a local pass is really important to us. Quite how far that sort of breadth of the local pass goes, we haven't quite worked out yet, but there's other discounted offers in Cornwall for blue light services, for example. So we'll take what works at Cornwall, we'll replicate it here, but also apply it to the northwest and the Morecambe Bay economy and see how that all threads together. So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
There have been questions, and we've talked about this in the past, but if you could just update us and sort of clarify as well, because the questions still arise, the financial positions of Cornwall and Morecambe and how the two are separate.
The simple answer is yes, they are separate. So that's what I would always say, and Andy Jasper would be stood here and be saying the same. Yes, Eden have been through a sort of recalibration of their operations. we're back on track. The new set of accounts will be published any time now, and they have got Eden on a good level playing field in terms of cost versus expenditure and that income that we desperately need for keeping a charity alive and sustainable. But the success or otherwise of Cornwall, Morecambe will be delivered regardless. We are in it. We're locked in with the funding, as I've mentioned. This project is going ahead.
The gardens, the public areas, in terms of keeping them safe, what's the plan in that respect? So obviously you want to be welcoming and you want to look after everyone. How do you go about that in terms of the spaces like you touched on that will be open all of the time?
Yeah, I mean, these are a bit like public parks, that you just risk assess the areas that you think are going to be problems. So, for example, we've had lots of discussions about bodies of water in the public realm, and the sensible thing to do is take the risk away on that front. So we've been working with the police, for example, and the local community police, in understanding where they perceive the problems that may manifest themselves and then designing them out. We would hope that people will respect something new coming to Morecambe. They don't always do, but we would hope they do. So the subtle interventions that I won't speak about that could control antisocial behaviour, for example. But we want to say that this is, for the public realm in particular, this is a space for the community. Just respect it like you would.
Be proud of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we want to deliver something that isn't behind a big tall fence. Make it feel welcoming, make it feel part of the community space, and that should self-police itself.
So we've talked about the supply chain and how businesses that are interested in engaging with Eden can get in touch with you, whatever that might be. There will, of course, be businesses who are just happy to have you in town, but there will also be possibly reticent about the effect it might have on their businesses. So for those who perhaps won't supply or be involved in the supply chain, what do you say to the rest of the businesses in Morecambe?
So I think we've got a unique opportunity, probably once in a generation opportunity, for everybody to play that part in sort of lifting the profile of Morecambe, and that comes with, quality. So what can you offer in terms of what your business is doing, whether that's what you do, behind the frontage of your business, but just making things attractive, just those little interventions that people can do to be a little part of a bigger thing. And that some of those smaller parts is really, really important. And I mentioned so many times at so many events that Eden alone won't change the fortunes of Morecambe. It needs those local suppliers who don't necessarily want to get involved with Eden as a business or a charity to do their bit, to invest in their little pocket, their little portion of Morecambe, and really be proud of what they're doing as part of this wider regeneration.
So as we wrap up, John, last question, what would you say to someone who lives in Morecambe, wants the best for the town, but is still a little bit unsure about what Eden will mean in practice? And I think one of the things that was really lovely at the event we had at the Midland after the groundbreaking, there was a young artist, musician, and she described having had a bit of a lack of hope in the last few years, but was very hopeful about Eden. But there will also be those people who are a little bit reticent about what form it will take, what shape it will take. And you will have heard, well, I like Morecambe as it is. What do you say to that?
I think towns like Morecambe, and there are many up and down, the coast of England, need a bit of a stimulus for regeneration. And what we've been very careful to do is build, or we will build, an attraction that has a long-term sustainability factor. So being a fly-by-night 3-year attraction that invests and then doesn't invest and then disappears is no good for the future of Morecambe's sustainable regeneration. So I think there's opportunity with jobs and suppliers, with local businesses, that they can piggyback off the benefits of having this investment coming into the town. We've been very respectful about the way that we've created the structures and landscape. So it's going to be something that people should be proud of, complement the beautiful winter gardens. This is a part of the history of Eden, of Morecambe's future. So Eden will be part of that history in 25, 30, 50 years. It may get listed one day, who knows? But I think what I'm trying to say is we will bring a quality attraction for the long-term future benefit of Morecambe. And that, I hope, would fall on good ears in terms of people actually understanding that this isn't a flash in the pan.
You're here to be a great neighbour, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. John Pye, Project Director at Eden Morecambe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.